You hear the word strategy thrown around all the time, right? Marketing strategy, growth strategy, you name it. But what does it actually mean? Because, let's be honest, most of what we call strategy really isn't. It's not just some grand plan or a fancy to-do list. So today, we're going to get to the very heart of what strategy really is.
And honestly, the best place to start is with this powerful idea from the legend himself, Michael Porter. He completely flips the script on how we usually think about this. We all assume strategy is about figuring out all the things we should do. But Porter says, nope, the real magic, the real power is in what we consciously choose not to do. It's all about focus, making tough trade-offs and deciding where you simply won't play.
Okay, this right here, this is a huge point of confusion for so many people. On one side, you have operational effectiveness. That's just about being better than your competition. Faster, cheaper, more efficient. And look, that's super important, but it's not strategy. Why? Because anyone can eventually copy best practices. True strategy is over on the other side, strategic positioning. It's about being different. It's about doing entirely different things than your rivals, or maybe doing similar things in a totally unique way. That is where the game is won.
So let's dive into Porter's world first. The best way to think of him is as an architect. What does an architect do? They create a detailed, precise blueprint before a single brick is laid. The plan is deliberate, it's analytical, and it's all designed to build a strong, stable structure. For Porter, that's strategy, a carefully designed, fixed position in the market.
And here's his core definition. Unique and valuable. Okay, that part's pretty straightforward, right? You got to offer something special that people actually want. But the real kicker is that second part, involving a different set of activities. See, your strategy isn't just a mission statement on a wall. It's the entire system of actions you take that brings that unique position to life and, crucially, makes it incredibly hard for anyone else to copy.
So Porter breaks this down into 3 basic principles. First, you have to find and create that unique position we just talked about. Second, and this is so important, you have to make trade-offs. You have to be willing to say no to some customers, some features, some opportunities, so you can be absolutely amazing at others. And third, you create fit. This is where all your activities lock together and reinforce each other, creating a system that is way more powerful than just the sum of its parts.
And Southwest Airlines is the absolute textbook example of this idea of fit. Just look at this. Every single choice reinforces their main goal, being low cost and convenient. No meals or assigned seats? That lets them do those crazy fast 15-minute turnarounds at the gate. Using only Boeing 737s, that makes maintenance a dream. Avoiding the big, crowded hubs, fewer delays. A competitor can't just copy one piece of this puzzle. They would have to copy the entire interlocking system. And that is what you call a sustainable advantage.
Okay, but what if the world isn't a neat and tidy blueprint? What if it's messy and unpredictable? Well, that brings us to our next thinker, Henry Mintzberg. If Porter is the architect, Mintzberg is the navigator. A navigator has a destination, sure, but they are constantly adjusting their course based on the real-time winds, the currents, and the unexpected islands that pop up.
And Mintzberg's definition of strategy is, well, it's totally different. He says strategy isn't the plan you write down in some boardroom. No, strategy is the pattern that you can see when you look back at the stream of decisions you've actually made over time. It's less about a formal document and way more about the consistent choices you make as you learn, adapt, and evolve.
So this is really the great debate, isn't it? This fundamental tension. For Porter, strategy is a deliberate, analytical choice you make up front to occupy a specific position. But for Mintzberg, it's an emergent pattern that forms over time kind of organically as you make decisions on the fly. You could say one is planned and the other is learned.
And these analogies just bring it all to life so perfectly. The architect designs the map beforehand, assuming the landscape is stable and knowable. The navigator, on the other hand, is constantly reading the terrain as they go because they know that maps get outdated fast and the real world is full of surprises. And the truth is, most of us, most businesses probably need to be a little bit of both.
So, how do you know which one to be? When should you be the architect? And when should you be the navigator? This is where we get to stop talking theory and start using a fantastic practical tool. It's called the strategy chessboard, and it helps you figure out exactly which approach is right for your situation.
The whole thing is built on 2 simple but really powerful questions. First, think about the horizontal axis. How predictable is your industry? Is it stable and slow-moving, or is it just constant chaos? And second, the vertical axis. What's your goal here? Are you trying to adapt to the industry as it exists today,
Or do you have the guts and the ability to shape it into something brand new?
And here's what that actually looks like with companies you definitely know. Up in that top left corner, where the world is predictable and you want to adapt, you've got companies like Porsche and IKEA. They find a sweet spot, a great position, and they defend it like crazy. That's a classic Porter-style strategy. But down in the bottom right, where the industry is a Wild West and the goal is to shape it, that's Apple and Google. They don't just play the game better, they completely reinvent the rules for everyone.
All right, now for the ultimate test. Let's apply these classic ideas to the most chaotic, fast-moving industry on the planet right now, artificial intelligence. You might think, oh, this old-school stuff doesn't apply here, but actually, it's more relevant than ever. In fact, you could argue most AI companies are so obsessed with operational effectiveness, just building bigger and bigger models, that they don't even have a real strategy at all.
But the few that do have a real strategy absolutely get it. And this takes us right back to where we started, with Porter's idea of choosing what not to do. Look at this. OpenAI is focusing on being the best at foundational models, not chasing a million different niche apps. Anthropic is making a deliberate trade-off. They are choosing safety and alignment over pure speed. That's their unique position. Mistral is betting big on efficiency over just raw massive scale. Even in the total chaos of AI, real strategy is still about making those tough choices.
So, let's just quickly recap the big ideas here. Number 1, strategy isn't a plan, it's a unique position that's defined by the choices and trade-offs you make. Number 2, it's always a mix of both deliberate design, like Porter's Architect, and adaptive learning, like Mintzberg's Navigator. Number 3, the most powerful strategic move you can make is often deciding what you're not going to do. And finally, you can use a tool like the strategy chessboard to figure out the right approach for you.
So I'll leave you with this to think about for your own work or your own company. Stop thinking about your strategy as just a static document or a list of goals. Instead, ask yourself 2 things. What is our truly unique position? And what are the things we are choosing not to do to protect it? And second, what's the actual emergent pattern we can see in our decisions that shows how we're adapting to the world? Answering those questions, well, that's the beginning of real strategic thinking.